for the start of the first few laps, I do believe. I'll quickly get on board with the front few cars. We have attempted to fix Regan's audio, but he will be back in just a moment's time, so we'll check that. If you guys could just let us know if that is any better when he is finally back. But for now, let's focus on the racing, and we do have, actually, I believe it's Connor Letford leading the way, and Hart following just behind to get the qualifying laps started. Actually, I will follow on board with Letford, then there you go, who leads the pack and starts us for the qualifying laps as he rounds turn 1 now, which is called Elf. A very nice, easy name to pronounce for me, very nice. But he rounds very nicely through there. You see just how much he attacks the curbs on them first few corners for now rounding Renault. So again, a very, very fast corner, as you can see, 120 miles per hour on exit of it. It's very, very hard to judge, so easy to find yourself washing out, getting close to the edge of the track, and sometimes find yourself getting track limits for it, but as you can see there, very easily and nicely done through there from Letford. As he now heads down, went through Repsol, into Seat, or Seat, I'm pretty sure it's Seat, you know, the car brand and all that. But as they round now down towards Verth, I'm just kind of practicing the corner pronunciations now, into turn 7, which is Verth now, into turn 8. You can see a very strong lap here by the looks of things, but on the background it does seem that Hart is ever so slightly catching as the lap goes on. But as they now head down into Campsa, down towards Lucaxia, from 142 miles per hour, breaking heavily down all the way down to 45 miles per hour, rounding the corner. To now head down into Bank Sadabel, or Sabadell should I say. I do apologise for the pronunciation of corners, it's obviously not going to be perfect, but we do try here. For now heading into what would normally be Europe car if it was the other layout, but this one is a change now. It's actually, I believe it's RACC, if I'm not mistaken, for the corner name there. Oh, we've got a car spun there. I'm not too sure what happened there.
That was Gwyn Baker that just went around there in the number 113 car at the ACC chicane.
I do believe audio is much better, by the way. I did just have a little check there. It sounded a lot better, so we will continue as we mean to go. And as it stands right now, it's Paul Muller who leads the standings right now in first. If we do just quickly go on board with his rival here, looking on board for a very, very good lap by the looks of things. And we'll quickly go on board with Muller in a moment to see how he's going on, seeing if he's getting any sort of improvement. But for now, on board with Saunders, heading into the final sector of the track. Can he find the time to put himself onto provisional pole? We'll find out in a moment's time as he just rounds, I keep on forgetting the corner name, RACC. Don't know how exactly we say that, Regan. Would you just say RAC?
No, it's RACC.
It is just RACC, but there you go, rounding RACC into New Holland corner to finish off the lap, and you see just how fast the run it is, 110 miles per hour on exit, and you see how quickly they get through the gears, up the speed, and it is going to be provisional pole for Saunders there, 143.680, so a very good lap, and a very good benchmark for people to be trying to beat now. Go through the order on board with Kuhlmann right now, also heading into the final sector, into Lucaxia. If someone in the chat could just let us know if the audio is any better, that would be very much appreciated. We do now still follow on board with Kuhlmann, looking once again to improving the time. He hasn't actually set a proper lap yet, so it's going to be interesting to see how he flows through these final corners and whereabouts he places. As now he does head through into RACC, and you see him BMW just ahead of him. I believe that was Milliston getting way up on the sausage curb. Something you don't want to be doing. You see that as well. Go ahead.
For Melvin Milliston, that is his inaugural race in TRR. So behind the wheel of the number 68 BMW, as Kuhlmann crosses the line, goes third fastest, 3/10 off of the pole position with 9 minutes to go. But yeah, back onto the subject there of Milliston. Milliston is on his first race with TRR, heralding out of the Invictus Racing team in the Xbox Endurance Championship. The number 68 BMW currently 7th fastest. Another driver making their inaugural drive in TRR, Corey Tidman in the 116 Mercedes, makes his way round the first sector now, down towards Repsol.
I'm just on board down with Bush, and it doesn't seem as if he may have been ever so slightly held up there, unfortunately for him. And the Mercedes does eventually get out of the way, but now 6 tenths down this time, it doesn't look like it's going to be an improvement. as we head through the cars just to see who's out setting laps and looking like they could be challenging for them top positions. As we keep on scrolling through, seeing a lot of invalidations as we see. So actually a few people appear to be ever so slightly struggling with that sort of thing right now. And actually on board with Muller now, looking like it could be an improvement on his time. 4 tenths up he is currently. So what a lap this could be if he keeps on as he is. So we just see Mark pulling to the side to allow Muller through, as he now heads round through the final few corners now into what I do believe is Eurocar, into our RACC. You see just
something
how much
to point out as well.
Something
to point out as well, on the previous lap for Adam Saunders was 1:43.182, so even faster than his previous lap. Puts him 8 tenths of a second faster than Muller. Muller brings that down to just under 2 tenths on that last lap alone. So things getting closer and closer. A bit of a concertina to start us off with in qualifying, but with 7.5 minutes left to go, these two can be even closer by the end of this session. It's looking very, very close indeed between Muller and Saunders, especially with how close the championship is at the moment. 4 rounds left to go, 2 of which are double points rounds for these two. It's going to be the 2 deciding rounds of this fantastic series and what it has been so far.
Indeed, as now I'm on board with Pilkington, who is actually just ahead of Muller. So Muller very, very closely behind following, but Pilkington currently sat in 5th place with a 1:44.257, and still looking like an improvement. It could be on the way here, as he's just a 10th up in his time, but it's slowly bleeding away from him. Can he find it heading into the second sector now? So you see 2 cars actually parked up on the side there. I'm not sure if that was an incident or whether they are just trying to keep out of the way. I suppose that's the only thing with these tracks. At some point it is very, very hard to just find a spot to keep out of the way without stopping completely. As we now head into Lukacs, you see still just 2 tenths up on his time, and actually looking like it could be a big improvement on the exit there. So 3 tenths by the looks of things. Could Pilkington put himself in contention for a provisional pole lap? We'll find out in just a moment's time, as he now enters the final sector of the track, and is looking still very, very good heading into Europcar and then into RACC.
He currently sits a second off of pole position, but with the rate he's been at, can absolutely work his way to the second row, if not up towards the front row. He gets out of Catalunya corner towards the line, now puts himself 3rd.
So they got a brilliant lap still, but still not close enough for pole just yet, but still 3rd place with a 1:43.860. So standards here really have been set by Saunders and Muller. Just go through the order once again, just having a look through. We've got on board with Wade here, heading into the final sector, looking like an improvement. Almost a second up through that corner, oh my. Could we see a big improvement heading now round through Blank Sadbel and into Europcar? There, once again, very nicely done through there, and actually still looking like a very, very big improvement. Rounding through RACC now, you see how much the cars attack the curbs, but they've got to be cautious, try to avoid the sausage curbs on the RACC, because they can damage your lap so much and fling the car right up into the air, putting you up on 2 wheels. And there you go, an improvement for Wade there, up to 17th. As we quickly follow on board with Saunders, actually looking like another improvement now, 3 tenths up on his current time. It is almost definitely going to be an improvement there, as he crosses a 1:42.850. What a lap that is from Saunders. Oh my word.
First of the drivers then to have broken into that 1:42 bracket. And very, very impressive stuff there by Saunders, constantly finding pace in the 4:24. That's really been his season to have here. He's really taken the challenge to Muller.
I was going to say, as we are 5 minutes in as well, we did just quickly have a look at the time set, and as you see, 5 tenths is the closest anyone can get. That's Muller, 5 tenths, and even 5 tenths away from him is Pilkington, and that's where really the average pace is set then after that. Because from there, Pilkington is 2 tenths off of Kuhleman, and then Hart is only 0.05 away from Kuhleman, so the times are really, really close elsewhere. But for Saunders right now, he's in a league of his own.
Speaking of Hart, by the way, makes his way down to the line now. Whether or not it'll be an improvement on his time as he exits turn 16, gets towards the line. No improvement for Dylan Hart, still in P5. So looking through the total run of qualifying times here with just under 4 minutes left to go. Adam Saunders, of course, this is all subject to change as we report it. Adam Saunders currently sitting on provisional pole position. Paul Muller P2, Marcus Pilkington in 3rd, Dennis Kuhlmann in P4, Dylan Hart in the top 5 ahead of Archie Bush, who is P6. Connor Lepford P7, Carl Buchow P8, Archie Craven P9, and Melvin Milliston makes the top 10. with Ian Skeen and Gwyn Baker 11th and 12th, Harry J 13th, Norbert Horvath 14th, and Andy Jones rounding out the top 15. Just pushed down there by Norbert Horvath to P16 as Mike Wade goes 13th. They're up into the point standing start here in the double points rounds. So the top 15 positions are the ones to be in here for the race start and ultimately for the race finish. That is where all of the points are going to be distributed at the end of this 45-minute race.
So I'm just on board now with Hart, currently looking at about a 10th improvement as things stand, but as he now rounds, look, actually it looks like it's ever so slightly bleeds away from him on exit, and actually bleeds away massively there. You see going from a 10th all the way down to no improvement at all. As you see Pilkington pull aside to let Hart through, it's going to be very, very close to improvement for Hart here as he now rounds into Europe car. Can he find any time through RACC? We'll find out now. You just see there just how much they attack it, but still just being ever so slightly cautious, trying to avoid the sausage grab. It actually seems to have worked out for him as he now rounds the final corner, looking to have us still at about a 10th up on his time. So it will be an improvement, and the set's a 1:44.001. Put himself up to 4th now.
For Dylan Hart, it has been quite the charge for him here. The driver heralding out of Orion Racing, part of the AERT family of race teams, currently adorning his sort of special edition livery that he made just for this series, adorning the colours of TRR, the white and the red. Has had quite the charge, especially as we've gotten past the halfway mark in the championship. He's been consistently lingering around that top 5, now puts himself in 4th with just under 2 minutes left to go. So that's still an opportunity for one more lap in the bookings here for Dylan Hart.
I'm just on board now with Coolman, currently sat about 3 tenths off his current time. And heading through Europe car, it does not look... Oh, we see going very, very wide there. Oh my, so that's invalidated. He's going to have one more chance to set a lap. So we'll just quickly go through the order. We see, oh, Harry J going very, very wide there also. Carl Bukow currently looking very, very close to improvement, but of course very early in the lap. We will actually follow on board with, if I can find him, Paul Muller, who is currently very, very tight to his previous fastest time. Now heading round Repsol corner. You can see him almost barely on an improvement right now, and not too far. I believe it was behind him will be Pilkington, somewhere down the order.
Pilkington's on his run towards Europe car and the RACC chicane at the end of one of his last flying laps of this session. Still with 50 seconds to go. Does mean when he crosses the line, he'll still have time for one more lap. With the next being the last. He makes his way out of Catalonia corner, turn 16 toward the line. Currently 3rd. Has to make up 9 tenths if he wants pole. Stands across the line there. He's got one more lap in the books there. No look at a improvement for Pilkington in that last lap alone, but now with a new lap on the horizon in the last of the session, still one more chance for that position gain.
So we actually could be looking at an improvement from Muller here as he now rounds through RACC. It's going to be, I don't know if it'll be enough for pole, but he's currently about 2 tenths up on his time on entry, but on exit, oh, it all just seems to bleed away from him as it is going to be about a 10th up on his time. Rounding the final corner, still just the tiniest of gains through there, but it's going to be a 10th improvement. He's going to have one more shot to to challenge Saunders, but he just sets a 1:43.278. Can he find the time to beat Saunders? Speaking of, we will just quickly go and find Saunders, who is actually only just down his current time, about 2 tenths off it, and there you go, he does pull into the pits, so we will not be attempting to break his previous time. You see Pilkington still in the pits. Is there anyone else out there who could be going for it? Kuhlman is in the pits there. We see Barton currently on a lap about 3 tenths up in his time in 21st right now.
Next driver down towards the line is Jacob Althaus, just narrowly outside of those top 15 positions. He'll be looking to try and start inside the top 15, at least giving himself the leg up on trying to get points in this round. Gets toward the line and is 17th. One driver that we just saw as well get towards the line and has actually moved a few positions was Mike Wade. He starts 12th in this race in particular. Next towards the line is the 57 of Oliver Barton, but very, very wayward there out of the RACC chicane. Out of Catalonia corner he goes now. Will it be an improvement from 21st position? No, it will not. Next toward the line, Benjamin Mark on one of his, admittedly not his first drive with TRR, but among one of his first drives. Still in the sort of infancy stages of competition here in the sprint series for Benjamin Mark in the number 24 AMG, moving up to the 2020 generation model now, with the move away from the 2016 AMG that came into effect with the GT2 update. Benjamin Mark gets down towards the line. Will it be a move from 19th? No, it won't.
Now we see Muller across the line. It's not going to be an improvement. He's 2 tenths down on his time, and that is going to be it. There you go. So 4 tenths off in the end, with Saunders an absolutely unbeatable time of a 1:42.850. Wow. I mean, heading into the race with that sort of form, you can only really rule one person to be the likely winner of this, but you never know what could happen, especially in the sort of sprint race we've got to get today.
We'll get a full run through of the starting grid when we see the cars line up in a few seconds. Break before first formation lap going, and it's like you mentioned, the start finish line sits not too far off of turn 16, and that gives us an incredibly long run down towards turns 1, 2 and 3.
Yes, it does indeed. I'm very excited to see. Well, I'm hoping, touch wood, that we don't see any sort of major incidents on the first corner. But as we know, it's been very, very common in recent times. We just hope that everyone gets through okay. And there you go. You do see him now line up on the line. 4 minutes till we get underway for the formation lap. And then we get underway for the 45-minute sprint. The super sprint, as they called it.
So here is a look at that starting grid. Adam Saunders lines up on pole position. Alongside him, Paul Muller makes up the front row. Marcus Pilkington and Dylan Hart in the second row. In the third row, Dennis Kuhlman and Melvin Millerston. On his first drive with TRR makes P6 in his first qualifying. Connor Letford is P7 ahead of Archie Bush in P8. Kyle Bukal and Archie Craven make the top 10, 9th and 10th in the number 772 and 222 McLarens. The highest starting position for a McLaren in this race so far. Ian Skeen is P11 ahead of Mike Wade, 11th and 12th. The Porsche and the Ferrari. Gwyn Baker on his first race in TRR is 13th ahead of Andy Jones, who makes up the top 14. Harry J rounding out the top 15 scoring positions there in 15th in the number 56 Porsche, ahead of Norbert Horvath, not too far behind him in the 87 Porsche. Jacob Althaus now ditching Nissan, starts up with Lamborghini, second race with the Italian firm now. He's lining up 17th ahead of Corey Tidman on his first race with TRR. He lines up 18th ahead of Benjamin Mark. And in the top 20, Richard Franklin on his second race with TRR, after making his debut in Zolder, is in the top 20 there. 20th on this grid in the number 19 McLaren. Oliver Barton 21st, Misha Mellis 22nd, and Chris Elliott in 23rd.
Oh my, yes, it's going to be very, very interesting to see who comes out on top today then. I mean, as I mentioned, after setting a qualifying time like that, Saunders really is the favourite here. And also just to mention as well, first place does have the inside line, but if Muller is to get a good enough run and keep with him, that inside line quickly turns to the outside on the second corner. So it could be very interesting for Paul if he can just manage to get a good enough run, stay beside him throughout that first corner. There is a very good chance to take the lead of this race. Just now wait patiently for the cars to get their engines started and get things underway.
We'll still be about a minute and 10 seconds off of the startup of these engines here. 23 cars in unison starting up here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. And I thoroughly look forward to seeing that run down to turns 1 and 2. Elfin Renault corner, the first chicane of this 16 turn grid, or turn circuit, I should say. Something to note as well, if you see the actual icon for Barcelona, it shows the MotoGP layout. So that includes the Eurocar corner and not the RACC chicane. You can also see the wider orientation of La Caja down at turn 11. Just something interesting to point out as well, because not only does this host the GT World Challenge Europe Series, it also hosts, of course, Formula One, being the home of the Spanish Grand Prix until 2026, but also MotoGP's Spanish Grand Prix, of which it has shared that with, I believe it's the Circuit Jerez.
And there are plenty of Spanish GPs in MotoGP, I know that. It's about 3 of them, I think.
And they say the Americans get special treatment in Formula One.
Good thing it's not Formula One.
Yeah, exactly. It's GT.
Oh dear. Well, here we go then. About 35 seconds left to go until the engines finally get underway. And we get this formation lap going.
30 seconds.
And then the tension and excitement starts to rise. It's anyone's game, really, on who can win this. I mean, with this new format, it's really a question of who can last and who could be the best over a course of 45 minutes. There's going to be no strategy, no caution of who could get a pit stop right and wrong. We're not going to have any trouble like we did last week out as well, with Pilkington having that error with the pit stop for whatever reason and not being counted. And of course, for those of you who do know, that did get took away, the penalty he got at the end of the race for that, because of course it was wrongly given to him. But we do still see here there will be just a straight sprint from start to finish, no pit stop. It's anyone's game.
So then Saunders leading us away on the start of this formation lap. Current conditions on track were the same as what we saw in qualifying. 13 degrees on track, 15 ambient, no crosswind and no threat of rain. Very nice, bright, sunny conditions here in the municipality of Montmeló in Barcelona. So just to we get a nice introspective look at these first two corners, Elf and Renault, turns 1 and 2. You see it does close in on Elf at turn 1, opens up massively for Renault, and then as we exit towards turn 3, this long sweeping right-hander, there's a lot of open space there, but very easy, especially when off of the sort of hotter line, the cleaner line where there will be fewer marbles on track. Very easy for a car to run wide out of that section of the track as we head down to Repsol. Very large open hairpin parabolic right-hander. It's going to be a bit of a tighter entry, but the cars can get all the way onto flat out throttle by around the halfway mark of that corner, and they can go absolutely flying out of it. You can see the corner opens up massively on the exit of Repsol there. And that pretty much stops in its tracks as they head down to the next corner, down at turn 5, which is Sayat corner. This open hairpin left opens up slightly as it brings us down towards turn 6 and 7 down at Worth corner. And that quickly jumped into turn 8. You can see there Dylan Hart getting very eager to get going, getting right to the back end of Adam Saunders. This is turn 7 and 8. Now we've seen this throw off the likes of open wheel race cars in Formula 1 and Formula 2, but with these much more stable GT3 cars, very few issues spotted at this end of the woods as we enter turn 9 at Campsa. And we'll head down towards turn that's turn 10 at La Caja there. I was looking at an older layout of the track. There is actually an alternative layout which includes a second chicane on this track known as the Nissan chicane. It used to be used in MotoGP. We head now towards La Caja, the more narrow orientation of that corner. It was much wider after 2021. We can see Saunders letting Muller get him by briefly there as we enter the final sector of this track. Round turn 11 we go. And in towards the final set of corners here. The RACC chicane starting off here at Eurocar corner brings us into the RACC chicane, one of the most claustrophobic sections of FIA Grade 1 anyone has ever observed in the world of racing. This is really where the track is at its narrowest, and where that moment-to-moment wheel-to-wheel racing could be brought to an abrupt stop there. That would be the only interrupting point. Now as we exit Catalonia corner, we see our drivers line up, 23 drivers side by side here for the start of the 6th round of Season 4 of the TRR ACC Sprint Series here. The first ever Super Sprint event. 45 minutes here on the clock at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia. We're green and racing here in Spain. Already a fantastic start by Adam Saunders. You can see Muller has an even better start. The drag race philosophy we saw at the start of this race has kicked off into full swing here. Paul Muller is up into lead of this race. Marcus Pilkington looks to make it too wide on the run into Elf. Will he be able to hold on to it as we get to Renault corner? There was contact there further down the order, but Muller is now into the lead there after one corner. Huge contact down the order that's made big traffic incidents down the line there. The 116 car and the 64 both given the white flags. Corey Tidman in the 116 car there, second from last. The car down in dead last position at the moment. Chris Elliott in the 64. Both Mercedes cars struggling. Another big off there at Repsol. Was the 722 car of Ian Skeen, I believe, was in trouble there as well. Yes, facing the wrong way at Repsol. So cars are bunched quite a bit there. Carl Buchal makes a bit of brief contact with Benjamin Mark as we head out of Sayat towards Worth.
This is a fantastic start from Muller. I'm not entirely sure what happened to Saunders. Just didn't seem to get away right away, and for some reason bogged himself down and very almost got picked off by Pilkington too, but just enough to keep himself up into second place. And now, as you can see, is putting the pressure back onto Muller to try and regain first position.
Lightning reflexes by the German there. Paul Muller getting into the lead of the race early on here. Less than a lap in already, in exchange of positions as we get now towards the RACC chicane on racing conditions for the first time. Expect to see a little bit more action going on here than we saw on that formation lap. As we know, the track tightens up massively at this area. We almost saw Archie Craven spin around there ahead of Mike Wade. Mike Wade's actually going to get to the inside of him at Catalunya. We'll be able to hold him off on the run towards Elf at turn 1. It's two side by side here in control for P10 and P9. Looking further down the order at this time, we can see it's gone single file, and there'll be a lot of that slipstream style of racing, especially down this long opening straight here towards turn 1 and 2 at Elf and Renault corner. Long day. Eno and Ralph corner. That is a good one. See Gwyn Baker side by side with the likes of Andy Jones and Mike Wade. They're looking to take the fight to Archie Craven. He had a lightning send down the opening straight out of Elf and Renault. Now as we come down towards Sayat corner, Mike Wade still looking to go on the offensive here to get the position in on Gwyn Baker, but he's side by side with Andy Jones battling for P10.
You did see for a moment that Wade really thought about making it 3 wide, but thought against it, probably for the better, because as you know, that doesn't seem to always end well. We still see Baker following very closely behind Jones and possibly looking to make another move here into what is another heavy braking zone at the end of a short straight.
Heading down to Lakaiha then at turn 10. It's front engine versus rear engine versus mid engine here. Mercedes, Porsche and Ferrari all competing here. Out of turn 10 and into the final sector we go. Looked like Gwyn Baker had the better of the two lines there, but goes over the grass. In fact, loses out quite a fair chunk of time as we exit turn 11. Has actually lost the position out to Mike Wade as we head towards Eurocar and the RACC chicane. Oh. Mike Wade goes wide, has to rejoin the track there, side on with Gwyn Baker, and he actually goes up and over the curbs there. That's disaster for Gwyn Baker. He was in a very good position there to try and hold on to a top 10 position.
Regan. Saunders has gone for a move up the inside of Muller in the first corner, but Muller just about holds on there. My word, they're now side by side heading down into Renault.
As they head down towards Repsol, Saunders is going to have the inside. In fact, is going to be looking at getting ahead of him before that corner comes into place. Muller holding on to the outside as we enter Repsol corner. Is going to swing it back in for a more aggressive exit as we head towards Saya. In fact, puts himself ahead of Adam Saunders, so he's back into the control of this race. But Saunders lunges for the inside at Saya corner. An exchange of position within 500 metres of one another there. That was absolutely fantastic.
There you go, Saunders done brilliantly there, just to fight back. If you look for a moment, Muller tried to shut the door on him, but Saunders was only just there enough to keep himself side by side, and then it just mattered about having the last send, which he did manage to get in, and now of course finds himself in the lead of the race once again.
Very precisely crafted there by Adam Saunders to get that move in, but it doesn't look like he's entirely alone in this fight here. You can see right at the back end of these two, no matter how much they continue to battle, Marcus Pilkington is in shot. He is in frame. Not too far behind him is Dylan Hart. So this could, with the sort of flick of a switch here, become a 4-car battle for the lead. Right now sits at 2 cars. You can see these two omnipresent in this fight.
See just how close Muller got to the back of Saunders there, heading through RACC. It's going to be very close, I feel, between these two throughout this whole race now. You can see just now surfing off the slipstream the Lamborghini is to the Ferrari. You can see 0.3 seconds is the gap. It comes down ever so slightly, but not enough really to be going for a move.
Nowhere near as effective on these GT cars as the slipstream as what we would see in an open wheel format of race car. We can see slipstream is nowhere near as effective. Nonetheless, you don't want to miss out on it, as it could be a few tenths per lap faster.
Exactly that. I suppose these cars and drivers don't need any sort of overtaking assist to get a move done.
And that is what makes GT so special.
It really is. We now see Muller still following so closely behind 0.5 seconds, but still Saunders now not seeming to be under any real threat of a move just yet.
These two now pulling away from Pilkington. They're starting to move into a race of their own here. Previous laps were a 45.270 by Saunders. That was his fastest personal best lap so far. The fastest lap of this race goes to Connor Letford at this time. The Ferrari 296 setting the fastest lap of this race. We'll see what time that was. It was a 144.760 by Connor Letford.
Oh, just a note as well, this lap, ever since Saunders has finally got a bit of fresh air ahead of him, a bit of clean air, he's actually about a second and a half up on his fastest time. So it's absolutely ridiculous to see. As soon as he gets a bit of open air, he's just been absolutely unleashed. And there you have it, he crosses the line, so it's a 143.830. Wow.
That was a staggering 3 tenths faster than Muller on that previous lap, so the Ferrari in serious competitive trim coming into this round. And as we can see right now, really at home here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, absolutely flying around this track. You can see even after that blindsider of a lap, he's still up on his time there. He's just bouncing between an improvement. We saw he was nearly a tenth up as he exited Elf and into Renault. Now as he makes his way towards Repsol, he's teetering on the idea of an improvement to his fastest time there, 143.830, of course, being that time in particular. Heading out of Sayat, still just around 8 tenths of a second between himself and Muller, so he's really put a block in that gap.
We've got a battle going on, by the way, for P20. There's a 3-car battle, and all there's contact there between Millis and Elliott. He flashes him in anger, though it was very tight. They did look like Mark looked to just sweep on through, following Elliott through on the inside, but you saw on the outside, should I say. But Millis went extremely defensive to the inside there, and now finds himself down in 22nd. That's how quickly things can change.
Looks like Benjamin Mark could be looking at a move here out of Repsol on Chris Elliott. Chris Elliott went wide at Repsol, puts himself in a very vulnerable position as we enter Seat corner. The 2 Mercedes cars battling here for control of P20. All the meanwhile as well, Melvin Milliston has picked up a drive-through penalty up in 7th place. His battle with Dennis Kuhleman soon to wrap up then.
Just look through the order once again. We see a few battles looking like they could unfold as the race goes on. We've got Craven in 9th, defending from Jones and Wade, sitting closely behind, all within a second of each other by the looks of things. So a very close battle between all of them, but nothing really setting sparks off just yet. All whilst looking down the order ever so slightly, 2 cars that are ever so slightly closer is Althaus and Jay in 14th and 15th. So the battle for the last of a few points positions there. And we've got a yellow flag, car number 19 there.
Richard Franklin had a bit of trouble entering that final sector of the track, round turn 11 and 12. Major upset to the rear end of that McLaren, saw him facing the wrong way just before Europcar. Currently in the slipstream then, Chris Elliott looks to get the move back on Benjamin Mark for control of these top 20 positions. Misha Meles looking to get a leg up on the 2 Mercedes cars as we enter Elf and Renault.
It does also seem as if that Pilkington may be under a bit of pressure. And the number 9 car, that's Althaus, having a spin there down at Verth. I believe, is that Verth? No, that's Seat. That's Seat.
You nearly said C, didn't you?
I said that earlier as well. I don't know why my brain just sees.
I'm thinking about that when I was looking at the track layout as well. I was like, I could have sworn that's called Seat Corner. No, say it.
Well, we have got a battle on our hands actually. It's for P3. It's Pilkington versus Hart. Hart is really applying the pressure now and potentially looking to gain a podium position here.
Sorry to interrupt you there. There's been an incident down at Campsar. I've just been watching on board at the moment with Jacob Althaus and Ian Skeen. Althaus has closed in on Skeen there, forced himself into the barriers. The 2 are both heavily damaged, the 722 and the number 9 both taking significant damage before Lakaiha at turn 11.
Oh, why?
That is disastrous there for Jacob Althaus. He sort of moved across, didn't leave Skeen enough space there. Swiped across the nose of the number 722 Porsche. And is now with some serious damages, limping his way back to the pits. The 555 car has had trouble off at Elf Corner. That was the car of Andy Jones, who I believe has just retired from this race. That's our first DNF there. Andy Jones in the 555 car out of the Barcelona SuperSprint. There is a battle for... There's a battle for 8th at the moment between Archie Craven and Mike Wade going on. 3/10 of a second between the McLaren and the Ferrari as we exit Sayat Corner. Something to point out, Mike Wade has been on really competitive form over the last couple of rounds. When he started the season a few rounds ago, he was sort of towards the middle, towards the back of the pack, sort of taking his first steps into the world of GT. And now he's battling in the top 10 and battling rather gracefully with the likes of Archie Craven.
I'm still following on board with Pilkington and Hart. The gap's still just 0.4 seconds between them. You've got to think in the slipstream that could come down rapidly, as we still see them basically not splitting the gap at all in the time. It's staying at 0.5, 0.4 seconds the whole time. And actually Pilkington seems to get a very, very good exit there, just to put a little bit of distance between himself and Hart.
And as we know, the BMW has superior top end as well. So if this is a drag race down to turn 1 and 2, it's a drag race Dylan Hart isn't expecting to win here. The BMW is actually pulling the gap away towards Elf and Renault. BMW there charged it down the lines, turned a 5/10 gap into a 7/10 gap there as we exit Renault down towards Repsol.
Just to note as well, that battle for what is now 17th is still very much going, with Mellis now being the lead car out of Tidman and Elliott right now. But the gap from Elliott seems to have dropped off ever so slightly. And oh, you see Mellis go very, very wide there. And that's going to allow Tidman to have a very good run at the Ferrari as they now round the final corner. Is he going to have a good enough run to pull side by side? It does look like he's right on the back of him, practically pushing him down the straight. When's he going to choose to pull out, though? We'll find out in just a moment's time. Actually, by the looks of things, the Ferrari seem to pull ever so slightly away for a moment there, as they head now down into the first corner. Will Tidman be looking to dive to the inside, or will he stick behind? And he does just stick behind for now. Oh, it's Elliott actually running behind, looking like he was going to get very, very close. And you see again, Mellis getting very wide, and that's surely going to invite, it does, Tidman, and goes round the outside, and that's practically waved him through to move him up to 17th now. The battle's not done yet, though, as Mellis once again looking to the inside, but not quite late enough on the brakes. And actually Elliott had a little look to the outside then. Oh, that's a car stopped on the side of the road.
That's Benjamin Mark in the 24 car. Took a spin at Repsol. Had to wait for those pack of cars there. Amongst them, Mellis, Tidman, Elliott and Franklin to get him by before he could try to rejoin the track. Ooh. Another car further down the line has also run a cropper there. The 66 car of Kuhlman had some trouble at the ACC chicane, but fortunately has rejoined the track before the pack of cars behind him could catch him up. Still 4.2 seconds from the car behind.
We do just quickly run through the order once again just to see if there's any more action elsewhere. And still the main battle right now is actually for P16. One more error from Ravna car and that battle could turn into a one for points. So extra bit of emphasis on trying to get through to the front of that pack there.
As we just tick towards the 30 minutes remaining mark, we'll have the sort of run of the first 15 minutes of things. Then looking at the order of cars, of course, subject to change as we read it out. But after 15 minutes of racing here in the SuperSprint, Adam Saunders leads us here in the Barcelona SuperSprint. Paul Muller, after briefly gaining the lead, has the fastest lap, but is in P2 so far, 1.3 seconds from the car ahead. Marcus Pilkington third, with Dylan Hart not too far behind him in fourth position. Conor Lepford makes the top 5. He's in P5 in the number 296. Archie Bush P6. Dennis Kuhlman P7. Archie Craven P8. Mike Wade P9. And Carl Bukal P10. Norbert Horvath P11. Harry J P12. Gwyn Baker P13. Melvin Milliston in P14. And Oliver Barton makes the top 15 of those point scoring positions. He's in P15. Further behind him then in P16, Corey Tidman, Misha Mellis, Chris Elliott, Benjamin Mark, Richard Franklin, Ian Skeen and Jacob Althaus. The run all the way down to 22nd.
Off the track.
Yes, that is trouble for Mellis. It was trouble down at Elf and Renault. Runner cropper there and has lost a few positions out. Is now quite some way behind his contemporaries in that battle for P17. Chris Elliott now leading that pack ahead of... Actually, no, sorry, for P16. So Corey Tidman leading that pack ahead of Chris Elliott and Benjamin Mark, with Richard Franklin backing up the pack there.
By the way, Regan. For P8 here, it's Craven versus Wade, and Wade looked to the inside of turn 1 there, but didn't go for it in the end, but still sits very, very close behind Craven. It's along that long straight. You'd think because it's so long, the slipstream would be super powerful, but not really. It's really only allowing about a tenth gained for each and every car from what we've seen so far for every battle.
You can see as well in this battle between Wade and Craven, sniffing at a move here just behind Wade is Kyle Buchal. So that's two K1 McLarens hunting down Mike Wade for these crucial top 10 positions at this time. Kyle Buchal just on the outskirts here in P10, looking for a gain up to P9 to reunite with his teammate here. But for Mike Wade, it's one of the highest positions he's been in so far, and is looking to hold on to it diligently with 27 minutes left to go.
We still will just keep on board with these lads. It is still a very, very close battle between these 4 drivers right now, all of which I do believe separated by about 2 seconds. And for a moment it did look like Wade was going to look to the inside of Craven. You see in the background there, Buchal goes very, very wide, and that's going to invite Horvath to have a go at him. So battles all over the show just there. From one mistake, it all suddenly builds one on top of the other. You still see Wade so close to the back of Craven, just 0.2 seconds separating the two of them as they now round through the was it WACC corner? I'm pretty sure it was. RACC. There you go. Don't know where I've got the W from there, but still. They round now, go onto the final straight, and still that gap just enough for Craven to be in a comfortable spot where he's not really under any threat of a move, unless Wade is to be really, really brave on the brakes. But at the same time, if you are going to make that risk, you are then putting yourself in danger of a collision. As we know, if you are the attacking car, you are normally the one responsible for collisions.
Can see as well a little bit of damage on the nose of Kyle Buchal's car, the number 772. Just a slight dent there in the nose of that McLaren. So he's definitely been closer over the course of this race. Mike Wade goes wide there at Repsol. That's going to invite Buchal and Horvath in to have a look at a move down towards Seat. Buchal not going for the move just yet, waiting until the exit of Seat there to try and have a look at the better line. But Wade actually manages to pull away from them there, about a tenth ahead between this corner and the last. Now up through Worth towards Campser. Mike Wade has regained some of that ground that he lost over Repsol. Is now right to the back end of Archie Craven.
Still know as well, the battle between Hart and Pilkington appears to be igniting again. 0.4 seconds separating the two of them. So every now and then Hart just seems to be reeling him in, looking for a move, but I don't think he's going to be looking for it once again, as he's just not close enough at the start of the straight to really be thinking about a move at the end of it.
Apologies to interrupt you there, because things are just as much as they're heating up in that top 4, it's heating up here down in the top 10. Mike Wade very nearly had a look at a move there. It was too wide between himself and Craven. Now as we exit turn 16, they are incredibly close to one another here, with Kyle Buchal and Norbert Horvath backing up the pack. This 4-car train down to turns 1 and 2. Richard Franklin makes his way into the pits then. Second car to make their way to the pit stop. The 116 car stopped on track at this time. That, I believe, being Corey Tidman there, with major front-end damage after Worth corner. Looking back onward to the battle between Hart and Pilkington, a tenth of a second is the dividing factor. They make their way towards Worth corner, where there was trouble beforehand for Corey Tidman. Hart gets the better of the 2 exits there, but has to go back single file before Campser corner is going to have to lose some of that momentum as he goes back onto the racing line and behind the BMW that is slowly bringing his times down. We make our way towards Lakaiha there. Hart looking for the more aggressive exit line here, but on a corner that loops back in on itself. It's a bit parabolic in its design. Can often throw your momentum off, especially when trying to go for the furthest to the inside line. Now towards Europcar and the RACC chicane. These two right on top of each other here. There is Corey Tidman, who had that trouble in the lap, on this lap in particular, coming into the pits there, and he wounded Mercedes. Now these two spilling over into the next lap here. Misha Mellis having to let by the car behind. These two being Conor Letford. See, they were almost level on their last lap times there in the 45s between Pilkington and Hart for control of the last of those podium positions, pivotal point scoring positions in this championship, especially with the stipulation of those double points in effect.
Indeed. I think it must be very frustrating for Hart right now because these two are so different in pace along this track. As we head into the second sector and normally the first sector, Hart tends to be the faster of the two cars, but it's in that final sector, and more crucially for Pilkington, that he's faster in that final sector because he always gets the better run onto that final straight, and that just means that Hart is never within reach to make a move on the inside or have a lunge to the inside. It's probably on the prime overtaking spot on this track. So
yeah, Hart's also backed off a little bit in that middle sector, so you wouldn't imagine in a race this short that there would be the notion that they're trying to save the tyres perhaps a little bit, because it looks like Pilkington was saving his tyres in that last lap, waiting for Hart to get closer so that he could push him away again. Does actually seem to be a surprising degree of strategy involved in a race that the whole point of it is that there is no strategy.
So not as well, Regan, Craven, Wade and Buchau are still very, very close together. Actually, 0.3 seconds separating Wade from Craven. Actually, he looked to the inside. Oh my word! For a moment, he looked like he was going to go for a move. You can see just how close to one another they get there, heading now round through Campsa and onto the short straight now. Actually, Buchau's the one looking to attack Wade as he looks to the outside. Wade defends the inside, and oh my word, Wade dives to the inside of Craven. Is he going to get the move done? It's so close to almost about 3 wide there, but oh, he doesn't get the best of exits there. It seems to spin the wheels up and doesn't get the run on Craven just, but Buchau, he's just about kept behind there.
That was quite a sight there. 3 wide between Mike Wade, Archie Craven and Carl Buchau on the run out of Lakaika. We head to the RACC chicane. Craven still leading from Wade and Buchau in this control of P8. Harry J next into the pits there in the 56 car. So a surprising number of pit stops over the course of this supposedly pitless race. And now making their way down the opening straight. Craven now susceptible to a lunge here by Mike Wade, who's slowly reeling him in. In fact, reeling him in quite fast now. The slipstream in the favour of the Ferrari as we head into Elf. The Ferrari having a tuck to the inside, holding off Carl Buchau. Mike Wade is doing quite the defensive job here. He's having quite a lot of responsibilities to juggle in this position. He's got a car in front of him that he knows he can attack and a car behind him that knows can attack him. So this is a real mismanagement of priorities. You can see now a little bit of that pressure starting to set with Mike Wade. Gets wide at Repsol, puts himself vulnerable to Carl Buchau. He knows every move he makes forward, he'll be blocked off by Craven. Every move he makes backward, he'll be intercepted by Buchau. So he's in a very high pressure environment here down in P9.
Yes, dude, but so far all of them doing so well to avoid contact from each other. I must say that. Been so close together, so close to contact both times that they've come side by side, but still nothing to show for it, which is good to see. But no, this battle continues to brew on and on. It don't look like it's going to slow down anytime soon. We're still following points. Every single time they head down into Lakaiha, and Wade just always looks to the inside. He seems to be so much later on the brakes, but as we saw the last time round, it can come at a risk where you don't get the best of exits because you're taking such a tight line.
A stop-go 30 has been handed to Norbert Horvath down in 16th position. And that is the first of the stop-goes we saw. Obviously, there was the drive-through served earlier by Dennis Kuhleman. Actually, I believe it was Melvin Milliston, my mistake there.
And all Regan Wade's had a brilliant run.
Nonetheless, we'll see here. Mike Wade is in the slipstream now, side by side. He's going to be to the outside as we enter turn 1 and 2 between himself and there's contact. I think my audio went very, very funny there. I have to quickly fix that, but that was huge contact. Mike Wade impacted by Archie Craven, and Carl Buchau makes his way through both of them up to P8. You see no major damages to Craven's car, but for Mike Wade, he's going to be very sore about losing that position. You can see not really looking like any major damages to that Ferrari either, so he'll be able to continue without necessarily needing to pit.
Now I'm just on board with Saunders right now, and he's just behind Mark. And there you go, Mark does just pull to the side, but for a moment there, it looked like Saunders may have lost a tiny bit of time. But no, also we got another battle underway. It's Elliot and Mellis still, but this now it's for points. P15, you see Elliot go very, very wide there. Now inviting Mellis back in to make a move. You see how loose on the rear the Mercedes gets, all very, very almost losing it into a spin there. Oh my word, somehow he's managed to keep hold of the car there. Somehow, I don't know how he hasn't spun, but you see Mellis getting very, very close for comfort on the back of that Mercedes now. It only looks like a matter of time before Mellis will be looking to make a move.
Chris Elliott all out of shape there through the RACC chicane. That's done his hold up mission. Mellis, it maybe have stunted a little bit of his momentum. It's going to allow Elliott to get away down the opening straight, with the Mercedes having superior straight line speed to the Ferrari as we head down to Elf and Renault. You can see the difference in pace on that last lap alone, a 2:04 versus a 1:55. So Chris Elliott losing quite a large chunk of time in that last lap alone, goes very deep on the first set of corners there as well.
Sorry to interrupt, Regan. We've had a massive moment there. Hart has gone off at Seat corner. He was following close behind, of course, battling with Pilkington just a moment ago, and now finds himself in the gravel, and that's a lot of time lost to Pilkington. Now 4 seconds splitting the two of them.
That is going to be a breath of fresh air for Marcus Pilkington. That's now easy control of P3 for the next 17.5 minutes. Hart's going to have to move heaven and earth to try and catch back up. Already making strides to do so. He's 3.3 seconds away, which was, I believe, not long ago, just around 4 seconds. So he's already made up the time quite well there.
Indeed, unfortunately, but as we did pan to that, we did see that we did miss the move from Mellis to get up to P15 into the first of the point scoring positions right now. We'll quickly go back on board. Let's find a battle going on in this test race. Right now we do actually see quite a bit of a spread period. That's the only thing that we'll miss about the pit stops, is that it can really bring a bit of action to the races when the race dies down. Adds that little bit of drama that you wouldn't normally see in these sorts of races.
The greater majority of that action, I imagine, then with this new layout of race is going to be seen towards that top 5. We can see there's still maybe is a few seconds here. I'm looking at the intervals for Dylan Hart's car. He's 3 seconds from the car ahead and 3 seconds from the car behind. So that could close itself up if the times start to sort of merge, if not improve, for the cars around him and decrease for the cars ahead of him. Of course, that's all up to speculation. I think it is a real test of endurance now, because you've not got nearly as much reliance on knowing you've got a pit stop in the books here. It would be entirely up to you to decide, and not everyone is going to be mimicking that strategy in a race where pitting isn't necessary.
Just to note that, I'm not sure if you caught on to that, Regan, but Mellis actually lost the position out to Elliott once again. It was when the blue flags came under him. He pulled aside to let, I believe it was Craven, by, and in doing so, Elliott has managed to sneak back past him, and as that happened, I think Mellis kind of had a bit of a late reaction to it, only realising then that Elliott got past him and had to cut the track for a moment. And
Elliott's gone wide there at Repsol, so flew a little too close to the sun in regards to being up there with the blue flag cars. Speaking of, Archie Craven is now behind Mike Wade. Mike Wade up to 9th. Craven down to 10th there. So that sort of that impact from earlier sort of avenged there. Mike Wade now back out in front of Archie Craven.
Yeah, a battle that doesn't seem like it's going to be coming to an end anytime soon. It looks like we could be having this one all the way to the end, and with just 15 minutes left to go. It really is not that much time to go already. It's absolutely flew by so far. As we will actually quickly use that as a chance to look at the
Mellis is catching up to Elliott. Sorry to interrupt you there. Mellis is catching up to Elliott. Elliott goes wide at Lakaiha. Mellis goes straight through. Seems all out of shape, that Mercedes. The rear tyres just look absolutely melted on the 64 car. And, he just can't keep control over that rear axle.
Yes, indeed. Just quickly, whilst I go through the order, then we have Saunders, of course, still. Oh, in the background there, as just doesn't want to go and do something. Elliott finds himself way off in the gravel, and that may be his opportunity to score points. Completely gone there, unless something really big is to happen later on. But now, finally, if I could get a moment of without drama, we will go through the order and the runnings, and as of course we still see Saunders leads by a fair margin now. 4 seconds now is the gap, with Pilkington sat behind Muller in third, about 9 seconds away from him. Hart sits behind him, 3.4 seconds away from him, whilst in fifth we have Letford, also 4 seconds away from Hart. In 6th we have Bush, 7 seconds away from Letford there, and 8 seconds away from Bush is Kuhlman in 7th. In 8th we have Bukal, and in 9th is Wade, followed by him is Craven, just 1 second away, so a battle definitely to keep an eye on. And then in 11th is Milliston, 12th Baker, 13th is Barton, 14th is Mark, and then to round out the point scoring positions is Mellis right now. So there you have it, the point scorers right now. Very, very jumbled up, it must be said. And the battle's not really coming too thick and fast right now, but I'm sure as the race goes on and we get into the final 10 minutes, we will see things start to liven up once again as people start, I guess, desperation starts to settle in that ever so slightly. You see Pilkington having a bit of a wobble of the car. They're not too sure what exactly happened there. As he rounds the first corner there, I just passed Mark to lap him, whilst Hart now sits 2 seconds behind him, so I'm not entirely sure what exactly happened to Pilkington, but he lost a lot of time in just that moment there.
Looks like serious trouble at the moment on the 64 car. He went across the gravel earlier on his lap, goes wide out of Lakaiha. Looks like he's got absolutely no control over the 64 car. Chris Elliott is really struggling now on the new Mercedes. He has a drive-through penalty to serve as well. This has really not been Chris Elliott's day.
It really has not, and I suppose that really throws all his chances of points out the window now. But he will, of course, join the other people who have had to had drive-throughs, stop-goes, and everything like that. I mean, as we did mention as well, track limits don't appear to be an easy thing to avoid at this track in particular. A few people have struggled just to try and keep it within the limits, but of course in this game, unlike others, it's only if you gain an advantage from leaving the track, which in my opinion is a much better system than most. Still on board with Saunders, you can see the gap grows to 5.1 seconds to Muller now, so really in is a league of his own and not seeming under any sort of threat right now. But actually Muller, I do believe, is the one with the fastest time of the race. I do just quickly find him, and there we go, it is indeed with a 1:43.824, so on race fuel. What a lap that is, but still not enough to somehow find a way to catch Saunders, as he really just has been pulling away lap by lap. There's just nothing that Muller could do. Scroll back through the order to see what sort of battles are going on. I did see a few cars bunching up at one point, if I can somehow find them, and there you are. It's Pilkington and Hart once again getting closer and closer. The gap now down to 1.5 seconds, at being 3 seconds just a few laps ago. So they are closing to one another. And actually, number 24 is off. That's Mark off, and we do see him get past straight away there. I believe Franklin may have gained a position out there. I'm not entirely sure. We actually see a note from Elliot in the chat just saying his brakes are completely gone, unfortunately to see for him. And there you see as Hart just passes him there. So that gap from Pilkington and Hart still slowly coming down. With 10 minutes left to go, you can only think that battle could very much come alive as this race goes on. Could we potentially see a battle for the podium places in the final few laps, and the final lap even? That'd really spark some fireworks off here. Just saying, I believe that was another car off there. We see Bush on the back of Franklin right now, looking to lap him. Currently sat in P6 as well, so a brilliant race for Bush right now. I'm sure he'll be very, very happy with this result. Brilliant for his championship standings, especially considering the double points. Any sort of podium, or not even podium finish, sorry, points finish, this race will be crucial, but finishing in the top 10 will be even better for any of those drivers right now. On board now with Horvath as well, just 10 seconds away from Mellis in those final point scoring positions, so no real threat on Mellis right now. The Horvath will be looking to bring that gap down. Actually, as you see in those last few corners, that gap has come down by about a second overall there, so that is a very good chance that that gap could come right the way down and see Horvath challenging for that final point scoring position. We'll have to see as the race brews on though, but now sitting at 8.9 seconds with 9 minutes left to go of this race, you can say it is very, very possible if he keeps on catching him at this rate.
Currently looking at that gap as well in that front row. Still sitting around 5 seconds then between Saunders and Muller, the championship rivals in these two pivotal rounds. Looks to be remaining in order for Saunders. And he has had an absolutely flawless race.
Yes, indeed. And oh, you see Bukal got a bit wide on the entry to turn one. That's actually going to allow Wade right to the back of him now. 0.6 seconds is now the gap and closing, with Wade potentially looking to steal P8 from Bukal now.
This has been quite the interesting story then. Mike Wade versus K1's Kyle Bukal and Archie Craven. The McLaren duo took on this Ferrari not too long ago, and they thought that the Ferrari was sort of done and dealt with there after that turn one incident between Wade and Craven. But now Mike Wade has come all the way back here to fight for P8, and he's now right to the back end of Kyle Bukal on the run in towards Worth Corner. The McLaren under the pressure now of the rather bright neon blue and yellow Ferrari at his tail here, heading towards Kampsa.
Yes, indeed. Bukal seemed to be ever so slightly struggling for whatever reason, and Wade is now looking all over the back of that McLaren and actually looked for a moment there to the inside, potentially thinking about sending it up the inside, but does think the better of it and now just sits behind, waiting for the perfect opportunity and for a gap to open up once again for him.
White flag shown there, the number 19 car going slower in front of them. That was briefly resolved there. White flags came out for Richard Franklin. Quickly resolved after turn 16. So for these two, absolutely no threat of anything in their way as they head out of turn 16 and down onto the opening straight. Kyle Bukal is under serious pressure now, and in the slipstream, Mike Wade is going to have a very good run of him here as they run down towards Elfin Renault, turns 1 and 2. Bukal is going to have to hold centre mass of the track here. Let Wade run the long way around him as we head towards Elf. Wade actually gets back out in front of him there towards turn 1 now as we head into turn 2 at Renault. Mike Wade up into P8 there, ahead of both K1 cars. What a little redemption story that's been.
It's not quite over yet. Bukal's still there. Still just 0.3 seconds away, but Wade does seem to be doing just enough to already be pulling away. I'm not sure if you saw the difference in lap times as well, but it was over a second, so Wade doing absolutely everything perfectly now to not only regain the position, but look to pull away now. As you see the gap already 0.5 seconds and seems to be growing.
Definitely put Mike Wade in my current pick of driver of the day right now. It's been a really valiant performance we've seen over the last 39 minutes of racing here in Barcelona out of Mike Wade to get himself very firmly into the points here in a double points round, no less. And he's took the fight to both of these McLarens. Of course, not over yet, but he really looks to be on the upper hand here. Bukal has a rather poor exit of Kampsa, has put himself a few tenths between himself and Mike Wade on down towards Lakaiha.
Indeed, so the battle definitely not over there. You saw for a moment, actually, I'm pretty sure there was a tiny bit of contact between the two as they went onto, or went through Kampsa, should I say. Still, that gap is opening every now and then, but Wade doesn't seem to be doing just enough to keep Bukal away as Bukal keeps on clawing back and trying to find a way through, but still Wade leads Bukal for P8.
Bukal being upset there by the sausage curbs at the RACC chicane has now put a second between himself and Mike Wade. Mike Wade could be clear here for P8 with 5.5 minutes left to go. Gives us about 4 laps here at Barcelona before the checkered flag for these drivers in particular. What a show it's been, though, by Mike Wade there to get back up into P8 with what he was down and out after that impact at turn 1. But Mike Wade's not going anywhere.
We've got another battle on our hands, whether it's Pilkington and Hart. Once again, Hart has done brilliantly to close that gap back down, and now is looking to chase and change for that podium position. Pilkington's now really under pressure, just 0.4 seconds separating these two now. The Lamborghini is looking hungry for that position.
He's going to have to contend with the superior straight line speed of that BMW down the opening straight. So for Hart, it's going to have to be all in the corners here. He's going to have to ride the wave of that slipstream down to turn 1. So
there you go, around in the final corner now. Then actually Hart appears to have had the better of exits out of the two, but is it going to be enough to gain? He sits in the slipstream. It will be a tiny bit of momentum gained on him because of the slipstream, but still just not enough. You can see just how close he is, but somehow still not enough to make a move to the inside of Pilkington. He still just sits patiently behind. You've got to imagine, as this race goes on, as you get closer to the end, the desperation will kick in, and he will be looking more and more for any sort of gap that opens for him. Or whilst Pilkington, the pressure will grow more and more as the race goes on, and the closer to the finish he gets.
You can see as well the difference in body language between that BMW and the Lamborghini. The Lamborghini much more aggressive, much more poised, much sharper in those corners. The BMW, the moment it encounters a straight there, drops a gear and disappears. An absolute cruise missile on the run towards turn 1. Now as they come out of Seat corner, they head towards Wörth. You can see where the Lamborghini starts to gain the bulk of its time here. Dylan Hart has got a little bit more corner speed overall compared to Pilkington, but loses out here on the exit of camp. So you can see he had a worse off exit than Pilkington, and couple that with the fact that BMW just absolutely vanishes in a straight line. So down towards Lakaiha. Hart is now 8/10 away. That could fall to beyond a second by the end of this lap. Come around turn 12 here.
So it really is that sort of yo-yo effect with these two, where the gap just keeps on opening and closing constantly, and Hart every now and then seems to put on a load of pressure, but in just a matter of corners it all fades away from him, and Pilkington just gets that little bit of breathing space that he needs to stay comfortable.
Out of Catalonia corner, you can see the cruise missile in flight here. The BMW M4, one of the fastest cars in the GT3 category in a straight line there on the run down towards turn 1. 165, 167, 169 miles per hour there before he gets onto the brakes.
Wow. Still just follow these two, as it doesn't appear to be any major battles going on at this moment of time. But still, Hart is still very much there or thereabouts, enough to put the pressure on and let Pilkington know that he is still very much there and challenging him. But Pilkington's still just driving absolutely perfectly, really. He's not driving like there's any threat from a car behind. He's not driving, changing his lines at all. He's not gone defensive or anything like that. He has stayed exactly as he is, and it's working perfectly for him now. We saw, I think, there you go, it was a drive-through. They go for number 722, or 772, sorry.
That's, as a matter of fact, for Kyle Bukal, so his chances of catching Mike Wade up are nil with that drive-through in effect. That could, in fact, be, with how the cars behind him are not too far away, it could even be a drop out of the points for Bukal by the end of this race. And so late on as well, it's going to be crushing for the K1 driver.
As I do believe now we are heading into the final lap, so we'll quickly find the leader. There he is. It's Saunders now heading into the first corner. Hopefully we don't miss any sort of battling from Pilkington and Hart, but for now we keep on board with the leader to see him out for the final lap, and what has been an absolutely dominant display from Saunders today. Absolutely no one's been able to lay a finger on him since qualifying, and now in the race. For a moment there was a bit of a scare when Muller took the lead at the first few corners, but Saunders didn't take too long to wait around. He got straight back into the lead and he hasn't looked back since.
Yeah, Adam Saunders has been absolutely imperious form on this circuit. Here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia. First in qualifying. He had a bit of trouble on that race start, but has turned it back into a race lead and has held on to it with an iron grip here. That Ferrari has been unstoppable out in front. 30 seconds left to go here on this final lap. Adam Saunders gets towards Kampsa corner. You can see in the background there the lap's car of Norbert Horvath not too far behind. But he has been in total control of this field from start to finish there. Had that little hiccup between himself and Muller, but put himself right at the back, well, right back onto the top step. Into the final sector we go for Saunders.
Indeed, so there you go, rounding the final few corners now. Regan, if you want to do the final piece on these two, and we'll quickly shift back to the battle between Pilkington and Hart when he does finally cross the line.
So Saunders down towards Catalonia corner here is going to get down towards the checkered flag and win the first ever TRR Super Sprint here in Barcelona. Wins round 6 and double points for that win in particular as well. Paul Muller will come across line P2. We'll see the conclusion of the Pilkington v Hart battle here. Brings itself to 1.5 seconds between the BMW and the Lamborghini. Pilkington on the podium there as he gets towards the line of the Super Sprint. Hart just narrowly avoiding a podium, but held on very bravely there. Tried to take the fight to Pilkington, but no dice today. Finishing then in the top 5. Just scroll across here. Conor Letford in the top 5 at the Super Sprint. will happily take home double points.
We've got actually a final lap battle here between Baker and Milliston for P10, so there's actually some crucial points here between these two. The BMW versus the Porsche, now rounding campsite. It's going to be absolutely battled to the line by the looks of things. The gap only 0.2 seconds, and that BMW doing whatever it can to try and find a way through. Is he going to look to the inside here? It's going to be a last gasp attempt if he is to go for it. And you see the Porsche going defensive. But still just about sitting ahead, or is he?
Ooh.
As Milliston looks and finds a way to the inside, he's going to have the inside line, and see how close together they get. Oh my word, brilliant racing between these two, but Baker still leads. It's a 10th place. Milliston looking all over the place to try and find a way through, but Baker doing just enough to hold defence. Will Milliston look to dive to the inside? No, still just sitting behind. It's going to have to be done on the final corner, if anywhere. Is he going to get a good enough run? By the looks of things, he's not. Baker does just enough to round the final corner ahead, but yes, it is indeed going to be Baker into P10. So brilliant battle there to finish things out.
Welcome to the top 10 then. Gwyn Baker on his first run here in TRR. What a battle to the finish line that was with Melvin Milliston. That was quite something to watch there, quite something to behold on the ending of this race. There is the final look of things on that grid. Adam Saunders victorious in the super sprint. Paul Muller second, Pilkington in third, Hart fourth, Letford fifth, Bush sixth ahead of Kuhlman in seventh, Mike Wade in a victorious P8 ahead of Archie Craven in P9. Gwyn Baker in the top 10 ahead of Melvin Milliston, as we saw on that battle to the line. Carl Buchau finishes 12th, Oliver Barton 13th, Benjamin Mark 14th, Norbert Horvath in the points there in the top 15. Just outside of the points was Misha Mellis, Jacob Althaus, Richard Franklin and Chris Elliott. 4 DNFs over the course of this race. Harry J, Connor Tidman, Ian Skeen and Andy Jones.
Oh, well, what a race that was then. I'm not too sure if I have too much more to say than what you've already listed off, but I do believe that we join us next week. Is it the 2 hours of Nürburgring next week?
I believe so.
So there you go. If you are looking to join us for that, hopefully we'll see you for that. Regan, I don't suppose you've got any goodbyes to be saying.
No, I suppose that's all from us here on Friday. So nothing expected tomorrow. On Sunday is the conclusion to Season 3 of the F1 23 Virtual Series. So if you're tuning in for that, do stay tuned for the last race of the season. And quite a climactic season finale for you in particular, Riley, as you're battling for the Tier 2 Championship title.
Yes, indeed. That'll be fun, hopefully.
Best of luck to you. For those of you joining us for GT then, join us next week, where I believe we've got a double stack of not only the 2 hour the Nürburgring, but the 3 hours of Donington Park with our partnership with GHR coming next Saturday. So do keep an eye out for that.
Indeed. But other than that, I do believe that is all from us. So yeah, thank you very, very much for watching, everyone. Take care, and we will see you next week for the 2 hours of Nürburgring.
Take care.